I grew up in what I would call an anti-Disney household. My parents didn't own any Disney movies, I didn't know any of the songs growing up, and I have never, to this day, been to a Disney World park of any kind. And as a result, I have always felt like a little bit of a weirdo, because Disney is such a huge part of so many people's lives, and it's only gotten more and more expansive over the years. Today, Disney has become the ultimate storytelling super brand. They've taken over Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, and some of National Geographic. They have cruise ships and private islands and amusement parks across the world, and they are so good at creating this connection with people that they have been compared to a cult in some cases. Now, I'm maybe the opposite of a Disney adult, but I feel like I've missed out on something. Like everyone is in on the joke, and I just don't get it. So today, we are doing a deep dive into the cult of Disney. Today's video is sponsored by Rocket Money. Now, when we pitched this idea, I was kind of skeptical about why we needed to make it, because I felt like the terrible stuff that Disney is known for was pretty common knowledge. We got sweatshops in Haiti, we got a history of blackface, there's sexist writing for their female characters, and criminally low wages for Disney employees, just to name a few. And yet, those same Disney employees forced to sleep in their cars because their wages are so low are going to keep their jobs because they love the Disney brand. And listen, it's not just some brainwashed employees. Millions of people around the world love Disney, and they are a massive and still growing company that makes an annual revenue of around $90 billion. That's so many billions of dollars. So whether you are just a person who watched Pocahontas as a kid or one of the many fully grown adults who choose to live in the Disney universe over our own, the House of Mouse has a kind of control and influence over their customers that very few brands have ever achieved. And I have to know why.
When I was growing up, because of just general proximity and the amount of traffic between Florida and Puerto Rico, almost everybody I know from Puerto Rico has been at least once to Disney World or Universal Studios. Yeah, I've definitely been to both copious times. It's fine.
So that was our project manager, Lou, here on the channel, and she is one of the millions of people who grew up with Disney as a fixture of her childhood. And this childhood connection is a fundamental part of Disney's long-term success. Now, targeting kids is not a new marketing phenomenon, of course. I mean, there isn't a company in the world that isn't in some way trying to connect with us at those most formative times of our lives, because they all know just how powerful that connection is. But Disney just happened to be the biggest entertainment company operating at possibly one of the most pivotal times in North American culture. See, Disney was founded in 1923, and while they hit the ground running, their peak time was during what was considered the Disney Renaissance. These were their prime years of their most iconic releases, and it came at a time when more and more people had access to this kind of media through VCRs. VCRs and home televisions really revolutionized how families enjoyed content together from the comfort of their own homes. And Disney was kind of the most famous storyteller making movies at that time. Yeah, their stories were well crafted, but their timing was what really ensured their future success. If you were not around in the 90s, I need to just paint this picture for you, right? For millions of people across the globe, these movies were shared in living rooms and basements with popcorn and friends, and those stories cemented themselves into those memories. It was one of the first times in human history where we all knew the same stories and shared them in the same way. And quite honestly, I don't know if we'll ever recreate that kind of moment ever again. There were only really a dozen or so movies a year that reached this level of viewership, and there was just a limited amount of movies and content in general. Like, I think it's genuinely hard for people to imagine who didn't live in this time, and probably easy for us who did to forget, but like, when you walked into a Blockbuster back in the day, you could choose from what was on those shelves in that particular store at that moment, and nothing else. The result was like a narrowing of the cultural spectrum. So not only were more people watching the same movies, but people would often rewatch the same movies over and over again. My wife's whole family can recite the words and sing all the music to all the Muppet movies. And they do it together, and it's beautiful and wholesome and disgusting. And it's those feelings, that rich and deeply embedded core of memories, that Disney is still holding on to this day. And as you might have noticed, those childhood classics have been coming around a lot more frequently. So we're gonna play a little game here called, is there a reboot or a live action remake yet? The Little Mermaid, The Lion King, the Aristocats? Is that what it is? The Aristocats, Beauty and the Beast, a Goofy movie, Aladdin, Dumbo, Little Chicken, Chicken Little. I genuinely don't know. Like,
Little Chicken.
Stop. Disney is ultimately famous for telling us stories, and while they have definitely had some really quality releases today, I mean, I saw Frozen. I've seen Frozen. They also know that their easiest and biggest cash cow is going to be connected to nostalgia from our childhoods. This is also why they've acquired a bunch of legacy names in the entertainment business that are built on the same ideas, even the same kind of niches. In some ways, they're kind of like a nostalgia factory now. They've sort of mastered the art of regurgitating old fairy tales and modernizing them for today's audiences. Because there is something deeply satisfying about revisiting a world that we know that we already love. But it's not just about that childhood connection, right? There is something deeper here too, and you'll be surprised to learn that it's all about money. Today, it's harder than ever to manage your money with all the ads and promotions to buy. So it's important to know how to manage and keep track of your spending habits. And that's where the sponsor of today's video, Rocket Money, comes in. They are an all-in-one finance app that helps you save more and spend less. Rocket Money helps you manage your subscriptions, lower your bills, build a custom budget, and grow your savings, all in one platform. Another really cool thing is that they help monitor your credit and analyze your spending habits so that you can get customized budgets that works specifically for you. Plus, it is super helpful to be able to get notifications to know when you've exceeded your limits so that you can get back on track. Rocket Money can even help you lower your bills by negotiating on your behalf, from internet service to cable and even your phone plan. Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year when they use all the app's premium features, with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions alone. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. So go to rocketmoney.com/Levi or click the link down in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium. Once again, that is rocketmoney.com/Levi to get started. A huge thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into it. If you look up the definition of cult in the dictionary, this is what you'll find. Great devotion to a person, idea, object, movement, or work with a system of beliefs and rituals, even considered by some to be an unorthodox religion. Now, obviously, we're not saying that Disney is getting people to literally drink punch and worship at the altar of Mickey Mouse or something, but they do have a disturbing amount of that criteria covered. Their lexicon alone feels like something out of a cult recruitment manual. They don't have employees, they have cast members. They don't interview people, they hold auditions. Even customers aren't customers, they're guests. Every piece of this corporate machine is subtly designed to reinforce devotion. We can look to Walt Disney as their figurehead for the cult, I guess, but to be frank, he's dead, mildly creepy, and even for the people who actually do worship him, he's not physically around to be negotiating how they act and behave or whatever. The cult leader of Disney is not a person, but the megacorp and image of Disney itself. Like any cult leader, Disney is a master of control, and the ultimate manifestation of this control is in their parks. The Disney park thing is just wild to me, as a person who has never been. This is where the ideology really comes through. Apparently, it is known as the happiest place on earth, and I genuinely didn't know that, and it kind of gives me the ick, you know? Like, it's the happiest place in the world. You know, like Chucky? Is Chucky
No.
Disney?
No.
Okay, so having never been to a Disney park, I was honestly shocked to learn about the sheer lengths that they go to in order to fabricate this very specific experience inside. From subliminal messaging like hidden artificial scents or statues that look different for kids than they do adults, to structurally building their theme parks to control their guests' behavior. Every ride exits into a themed gift shop. Visual landmarks draw guests towards certain stores without even realizing it. And no matter where you are in the park, you are isolated from the outside world. It honestly kind of makes me want to go now. Like I'm fascinated by this idea, and like, would it work on me, you know? This isn't just like an all-inclusive resort style disassociation from real life, but truly the closest thing that we have to an ideological utopia come to life. Academics who have written about this have concluded that the whole Disney brand presents itself as a sort of paragon of virtue and childlike innocence. They're selling a wholesome, conservative ideology that sits on the side of neutrality. According to them, Disney messaging reaffirms conventions of gender expression, families, romance, and American values. Even in a modern woke world of expanding social norms, the real message Disney is selling us is conformity. Disney parks have been described as the most ideologically important piece of land in the United States. In the past, presidents have given speeches in Disneyland or held meetings with foreign world leaders there. So in this sense, trips to Disney are like a pilgrimage of American culture. Almost like a rite of passage, a process of holding on to the past, but where the past isn't real, but like a storybook version of what we wish the past was. And look, honestly, like, I feel like I'm spreading some sort of conspiracy theory, right? But it gets worse. Jean Baudrillard famously said, "Disneyland is presented as imaginary in order to make us believe that the rest is real, when in fact, all of Los Angeles and the America surrounding it are no longer real, but of the order of the hyperreal and of simulation." Basically what he's saying there, because I know it's a little dense, is that Disney's reality is so fantastic and all-encompassing that guests perceive it to be the fantasy version of the real, aka hyper-reality, the most real version of reality that can exist. Like, everything else is in service of Disney's reality. And in a weird way, this is a lot like cults, who create isolated environments where they can control people's perceptions and create a sense of reality that is exclusive to the group. Disney World or land or whatever is completely obstructed from reality, designed so that the surrounding highways and traffic and shopping centers are hidden from view. Employees seriously move through the park through hidden underground tunnels, enforcing the illusion that the parks actually operate through magic. There are also underground police stations and of course many hidden security cameras, which further kind of adds to this dystopian control surveillance culture that is going on here. And this is what is so fascinating for me as an outsider about the Disney effect, right? Like, there are 58 million people who go to Disney parks every single year, and none of them are thinking about this stuff. They're all just there to have a good time. And that's probably fine for the most part, honestly, except when they become disconnected from what is real. Yes, we are engaging in the fictional environment, right? But we're also engaging in the very real acts of consumption. So this idealized fantasy of the reality controls us just as much as the actual reality does. And probably the most complete manifestation of this is the Disney adult. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube that make fun of Disney adults and their obsession with the Disney World, and it's really an easy joke to make, right? There are viral videos about people's Disney bobblehead collections, people sobbing when they see Cinderella's castle or when they meet a beloved character. These are the extremes in the Disney fan spectrum who dedicate what seems like an unreasonable amount of time and money and emotional energy into being a part of this Disney story. They're basically like the opposite of me. But in the process of making this video, I think I kind of understand them now. It's easy to mock Disney adults, but at the end of the day, they are just like overly dedicated sports fans, Pokemon collectors, or Swifties, or whatever. Just another group of humans seeking comfort and joy in an idea that is bigger than themselves. But here is the twist. Creating Disney adults was always a part of Disney's plan. In the late 90s, Disney launched this crazy 24-minute-long campaign to promote adult-only trips to their parks. This super thorough vacation planning video highlighted the ways childless adults could enjoy Disney parks too.
We told our friends we were going to Disney. They couldn't believe it.
It's not just for kids, it really isn't.
They recognized that this might have some weird reactions within the public, so they branded it very strategically. At the same time that this campaign was released, they released other ads with the caption, "They're so weird," in relation to an older couple going to Disney together. When Disney's fairy tale wedding program got started, they posted sarcastic headlines about why grown people would want to get married in the vicinity of a cartoon mouse. They knew that people would consider this kind of trip a little weird, and so what they did is they made it a little inside joke for Disney adults to enjoy. And clearly, it worked. Disney has always recognized that they had a very powerful spending population in adults too, so it makes sense that they would try and manipulate and control this demographic as well. So when we realized this, that Disney adults were actually created by the corporation themselves, why are we making them seem like the weird ones? These people aren't stupid, hysterical, ignorant, obsessed, capitalist babies. The Disney adult is a product of the thing that was built for them. They took comfort in the Disney world that was created where their real life issues don't affect them, and for those brief moments, they can just inhabit a perfect world where everyone is safe and everybody gets what they deserve. That woman who cried over Goofy cried in part because he was her late grandfather's favorite character, and the two of them were best friends. And you see this a lot when you actually do any kind of digging into Disney adult behavior. Yeah, people do mildly embarrassing shit sometimes, but they also do it to remember deceased loved ones or celebrate being cancer-free. Whether pop culture wants to agree or not, these people are just as fully functioning as the rest of us. Just maybe a little nerdier about a very specific thing and more emotionally attached to their limited edition mouse ears. So you know that when the Disney adults are getting tired of Disney's bullshit, that their bull is really shit, or that their bullshit is really shitty, or something. Turns out even the nerdiest of Disney fans, the ones who've got the memorabilia and like go to the resorts like multiple times a year, they're getting fed up. Because it turns out, no matter how much you care and how much energy you put into these Disney products, they are starting to realize that the megacorp isn't giving that care back. In 2023, a man named Jeffrey Piccolo filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Disney after dining at an Ireland-themed pub in Disney Springs. He and his wife asked the staff numerous times if their food would contain any allergens, and they were assured that it wasn't. So when his wife died in the hospital later that day, Jeffrey Piccolo rightfully wanted to go to court. But in response, Disney argued that he couldn't sue them because of the terms that he signed up for in a free 1-month trial subscription to Disney Plus back in 2019. And then, when people were rightfully pissed at this very strange response, the chairman of Disney Parks said, "This warrants a sensitive approach," which doesn't actually seem like a sensitive approach, does it? It's almost as if this is a corporation that knows that our fundamental desire to feel the comfort and safety that their stories provide will always overrule the moral issues that we know about them. The Disney adult is a reality for many people in an age where things are more uncertain and scarier than ever. We're clinging to this kind of community because we have been disconnected from each other, from our own communities. This quote puts it horribly well. The only way people have to relieve their troubles is to use the services of companies that may have contributed to those problems in some way. People are turning to Disney for comfort because that's what it tells us it's there for. But in reality, it's just another mega corporation that fundamentally sees its followers as dollar signs more than people. And because Disney is shaping the narratives that define our culture right now, it's in turn shaping us, creating this weird feedback loop of reboots and remakes that keeps us barely satiated as we keep looking for more. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Is that our song?
It's our outro music.
Is that what it sounds like? My God, dude. Bye, y'all.